Rev up your engines. Okay, today if you're thinking about getting a economy car that can last a long time, here is a brand new 2024 Honda Civic. The guy got it for $18,000. It's like, whoa, what a deal. How did he get such a deal? Because he bought it. It had been wrecked in the front. They seemed to do a good job fixing. We're going to find that out when we go through the whole thing. But he saved himself like $10,000. It was in a front wreck. He road tested it. Runs okay. He's been driving it for a few thousand miles. And he hadn't had any problems with it, so even though I'm personally always leery about buying a wrecked car, on the East Coast here where I am, I'll tell you, a lot of guys bring me vehicles that have been wrecked and they were fixed decently and they saved a lot of money. 10 grand is 10 grand. You know, it only had 6,000 miles on it, right? And we're going to go through to make sure they fixed it right. He's happy with it so far. That's an awful lot of money to save on a vehicle that can last a long time. Now, he's smart because as we look under the hood, he bought the 2-liter 4-cylinder non-turbocharged engine. It doesn't have an oil dilution problem, and not being turbocharged, it's going to last a lot longer. Honda probably makes the best 2-liter engines in the world. These things are totally dependable. It's not a little 1.1 or 1.2 liter. It's 2 liters, a nice size, not being turbocharged, there's less pressure. I've seen some of these things with 600,000 miles and they're still running strong. Now, the part that I don't like about this car, but a lot of people don't seem to mind, is it does have a CVT transmission. It doesn't have actual gears. But on the other hand, if you really won't carry gas much, if you bought one of them new, it'll probably go 200-some thousand miles before it has any problems with it anyway. They're well-made vehicles. But this is going to last the absolute longest. We'll slam the door, sounds solid, got a cool Honda logo. This does have extremely comfortable seats, and I like the cloth ones, they last longer. And even though it's a Civic, it's got a reasonable amount of space in the back seat, and the back seats are extremely comfortable too. It's a CVT tranny, but if you really want to, it's got paddle shifters, and you can play with the paddle shifters if you want to drive it that way. And white and silver dash, it's got a beautiful dash. Usual controls all over the place for you. You can turn the traction control off, put it back on, whatever you want to do. Easy, simple temperatures, nice clean lines. It's a beautiful looking car. It does have electric parking brake. Well, they all have that these days. Nothing you can do about that. Now, this is a sport version. He got a good deal because it was wrecked. It would have cost a lot more than his 18 grand he paid out. Beautiful wheels. And let's check out the trunk. It's got a decent sized trunk for a little car. I mean, check it out. And let's look under here. Let's see what Honda's up to. You still get a spare tire. Thank goodness. I am so sick of people buying new cars and they don't even get a spare tire. Spend all that money. The average car is $45,700 in the United States. And a lot of them, you don't even get a spare tire. You get a pump and a little fix. Well, if you get a gash in your tire, hit a big piece of glass, that isn't going to help you. Please, will you just leave the spare tires in cars, people? And this comes with one. Hey, it's an economy car. A lot of luxury cars don't even have spare tires anymore. I mean, what's up with that? Now, this is front-wheel drive. It's not all-wheel drive, but hey, it doesn't matter. He lives in Massachusetts. This has all-season tires, and he just leaves them on in the winter. It'll go perfectly fine. Same thing with my mother. When she was still around, her Corolla was front-wheel drive, never put snow tires on, and that's in Buffalo, New York. They know how to plow the roads, you know? That's sort of what they do. They've been doing it for so long. You don't need all-wheel drive. You don't even need snow tires half the time. All-season tires. Tires have come a long way. When I was a kid, yeah, you had to put snow tires on it because the regular tires would slip too much. But all-season tires, if you got a place where there's snow plows, they work perfectly fine. So now we're going to find out if it was a good idea for him buying his car wrecked and saving 10 grand. We'll do a standalone diagnosis. Here we go. Now it's starting to do some thinking. There's a lot of technology on these things, and it can do a topology scan. So here we go. While it's doing the scan, we'll kind of look around. It's got a decent sized screen on it. Doesn't block the windshield. Now you never know, but I'm going to take a guess that since this thing was in a big wreck, I'm assuming that the people that repaired it probably didn't have a machine like this, because the body shops often don't. So we're probably going to get some codes that the things were fixed, but they didn't reset the computer, so the computer thinks they're still broken. So let's see what happens. It says it's found 7 trouble codes. Okay, here we go. Integrated camera support system. That's all the stuff for smart driving and intelligent cruise control. It's got trouble codes. Of course, those would have all been tripped in a front wreck. Automatic correction for misalignment of camera. All this stuff would have been smashed when the car was smashed. So what we're going to do is going to erase these codes, and then we'll see if any of them come back after we drive it. Because I'm assuming they just didn't erase the codes after they fixed it, which is very typical. Let's check this out, the body. With those trouble code, that particular one is. But that's a security code saying the key didn't work at some time. Again, if you get in a wreck, the battery's disconnected. Who knows who tried to start it with what? He bought it used, so we're going to erase that code too. Now, he personally said he doesn't even like the partial self-driving software because you got to have your hands at the same position. If you move it, it starts whistling and both. So he didn't even use that stuff. He didn't even care if the stuff works or not. They're all erased now, so we're going to take it for a road test, see if anything comes back. But for the meantime, we'll start her up and we'll look at live data. Remember, black is good, red's bad, and we'll start looking at that. Everything so far looks pretty good. Look, the air fuel lambda is 0.99. Either off 1/100th% or it's perfect. And it went 1.01. It's 1/100th off on the plus side too. It's pretty close to perfect. So we know it's running good. I already knew that by the gas mileage he was getting driving over here. See, everything's normal. So whoever worked on this car did a pretty good job after it was wrecked. Sometimes you get a wrecked car, you can save yourself 10 grand like he did. Keep going just to make sure there's no bad data anywhere else. And there isn't. Decent backup camera. Nothing special. It's an economy car. Doesn't have all kinds of different things. It's got a few. Let's check this out. Okay, you can change the arrows. And you can get a real close-up in case you're worried about kids or animals behind you. That's pretty cool, I gotta say. It's a nice setup if you're worried about hitting kids. First thing I notice is extremely smooth idle. 4-cylinder car, but extremely smooth idle. And you have both a speedometer and a digital speedometer in case you like looking at numbers or you like looking at a fake analog. It's actually a digital speedometer, but it's fake analog. It looks like it's analog, but it isn't. But you can obviously see the 1718 right there. Now we're going over bumpy roads, and for a small car, right, it handles fine. It's a small wheelbase car, so of course you're going to feel some bumps. On a highway it's perfectly smooth, but on a bumpy road you're going to feel stuff. It's a small car. Make a little left turn. We'll see what this 2-liter engine can do. Honda makes great 2-liter engines. Just kind of a shame. I'm going to turn the automatic stop-start off because I can't stand those things. He turns it off every time too. 9:50, I guess people are going to work late. Whee! We're waiting. There's a Volkswagen Beetle. Check it out. All right, finally. Here we go. And we'll floor it. Decent acceleration, but it is a CVT. If this was a 2-liter, which it is, but not a CVT, but an actual automatic gear transmission or manual transmission, this thing would be screaming little car. But it still runs perfectly fine. Many people are satisfied with them. They don't have any particular problems with the CVT transmission. I just figure you got a good Honda 2-liter engine. I'd like to make use of the power a little bit better. And goes perfectly fine. The electronic power steering, they certainly have figured that out. Doesn't particularly over or understeer. Nice little car to zip around in. The guys that fixed it, hey, they did a pretty good job, I gotta say. Saved them 10 grand too. We're going 25. Floor, it takes off okay. It's not that bad. I just know this is a 2-liter Honda engine, which is an excellent engine. It would have a lot more zip with the actual gears instead of having a CVT. Honda being sporty, it does ride quite a bit rougher than the Corolla. If you like a smoother ride, you'd get a Corolla. But if you want more of a performance racing around, you'd get a Honda instead. Now, we've road tested, you can see none of the codes came back, so those are things that they just didn't reset when they fixed the car. Now, normally I say don't buy a wrecked car, but, and it happens a lot on the East Coast here, he bought this car from guys that they only do Hondas. What they do is they'll buy a wrecked Honda, fix it. They did a good job fixing it, I'll give them that. And then they make money, but he saved $10,000 from a new one that only had like 3,500 miles on it. So if somebody knows what they're doing, Those guys aren't going to buy one of these, say, that got T-boned and the frame's bent, because they don't have solid frames. It's unibody. The whole thing's a frame. So if the frame's all messed up, that's the end of the car. This one, it didn't mess with the frame. They know what to buy, so they're not like some clown who will buy anything, fix it up as cheap as possible, and then try to sell it to somebody. There are places like this out here that you can find. And if you find a guy that only does Hondas, maybe check out their Hondas. Or somebody that does only Toyotas, check out their Toyotas, because they're smart enough not to buy a wrecked car that they know is really not cost effective to rebuild, and no one's going to be mad at them. In this case, they did a phenomenal job, runs fine. Like I say, if you want a little bit better gas mileage, you'd wait until the 2025, because then they have a hybrid that'll get 51 miles a gallon in town. That's phenomenal gas mileage, right? This only gets 30-something in town, but, you know, it gets really good gas mileage on the highway, 40-something. But the hybrids are a little bit better with more technology. So, like I say, you always have to take it by a case-by-case situation with vehicles. In this case, they're great cars, the Civics, but it had been in a big wreck. They did a good job fixing it. He saved 10,000 smackers, and he's a Honda guy. He's got a Honda Fit that he can't destroy, that his son's learning how to drive, and he's going to go to that. And he had an 84 Accord years ago that he put 200-something thousand miles on it and couldn't destroy that either. And he was young then, and he said he drove the heck out of it, and it still ran. So, Honda still makes some pretty good vehicles. Only thing I gotta say, if you saw the recent thing about Honda, they're having a problem with a bunch of their V6 engines blowing up, get a 4-banger. Their 4-bangers are the best, and if you can get a 2-liter, the 2-liter 4-bangers they put in are the absolute best engines. They make power for money and gas mileage and long life, all combined. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.